Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I thought I'd take the opportunity to share my health journey with you. It's been a long, tough, very hard, deliberating and very expensive health journey, and I just think surely I can now be at a point where I can share my journey and at least help other women and men in a very similar situation to me. So where to start? I think most of you, not most of you, but those that are not new to my Instagram account know that I've had gut health issues now for at least a couple of years that I've made it known on social media. But in total, it's probably since about 2016, we're now in 2020, so for nearly 5 years. Yeah, started off 2016 with bloating, and I've spent my entire life eating any foods that I want to eat. I've eaten dairy, gluten, white bread, the average normal British UK diet I have eaten. So yeah, started to experience gut health problems. When I say gut health problems, just bloating really. Just simple bloating and feeling really uncomfortable. And then really gross to say, the gas that comes along with that. And yeah, that was all back in 2016. Started to do a little bit of investigating in 2016, did the online intolerance test, which a lot of you have done. And yeah, found out no gluten, no dairy. Kind of followed that, lost a little bit of weight unintentionally because I dropped the gluten and dropped dairy, and found myself feeling a lot better. So we kind of like went through 2016 and 2017 okay, after eliminating certain foods. 2017, started to notice my hair had gone really thin. People were writing on Instagram, oh, you need to do your roots, Stacey. And I didn't need to do my roots. It was just the fact that you could see the balding on my top of my head, it was my scalp, it was white. And I'm really lucky to not have grey hair for some reason. So I didn't need my roots doing. So I started to then realise that, oh God, my hair's going really thin, what's going on? And then, I started to talk about it, started to bloat again, hair was going thin. This is 2017. Get to 2018, I was completely fed up. This is the beginning of 2018. And that's when I started to see a nutritionist who was incredible, by the way, and absolutely was a real game changer for me. It still meant that I had to eliminate certain foods. I went onto it was almost like the FODMAP, low FODMAP plan. It wasn't the complete low FODMAP. I just had to eliminate sweet foods, and it was mainly, not many carbs, etc. Nothing too strict. And a protocol of supplements. So without boring you too long, I really want to fast forward to January 2020, but I'll finish off 2018 because I think it's really all relevant. I then found myself April 2018, beginning a protocol. I was diagnosed with Candida and diagnosed with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and Candida is an overgrowth of yeast in the gut. So I had 2 diagnoses. Felt, you know what we're all like. We get a diagnosis and we feel better, don't we? So I was on the road to recovery. I was on a supplement protocol, cutting out a few other different foods, and yeah, brilliant. 6 months, I will be fine. 6 months later, September, I felt absolutely amazing. Completed all my supplements, done everything I needed to do. January 2019, pop, back out again, back bloating and back feeling absolutely terrible. Hair was going thinner, and what happened next was, I think, was the worst part of the whole journey, was the depression set in. And I literally spent 2019 completely depressed. And I would say the depression I just can't even explain how I felt, and I didn't want to explain to anybody how I felt. And it was my first touch on understanding why, unfortunately, mental health is still I mean, there are some amazing people spreading the word and creating awareness and encouraging people to talk and speak out. But it's when you're not well, it's very, very hard to tell somebody. I just can't explain it. And if you've suffered, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's really hard to tell somebody. I'm the kind of person that wears my heart on my sleeve. I mean, for God's sake, I went on a reality TV show. All my friends will tell you that know me. I'm really outgoing. I'm full of energy. I'm always, what's next? And 2019, I literally just sat in this kitchen staring at my laptop. I had a business to run. I couldn't run it. I stared up into space. I did my normal routine. I kept a smile on my face. Nobody knew. Husband, family, nobody knew at all. And it was the most miserable year. But I did some really nice things in that year, in the way of some really nice events. But I put my mask on and I smiled and I got through it. Towards the end of 2019, bloating, depression, the anxiety was out of, it was just off the scale. I'd stopped socialising. I'd retreated on socialising a little bit at the end of 2018 anyway. I would make excuses not to go to events. People would invite me out. I'd get invited to some really nice red carpet events. I would avoid, I wouldn't go. I would come up with an excuse. I'd become just a little bit of a recluse, but still nobody noticed. I don't know how I got away with nobody. Not one person ever said to me, "Are you okay?" Nobody noticed. And that wasn't because I don't have good friends or family, but I just really hid it. So 2020, January 2020, the symptoms were the following: anxiety, depression, swollen, achy legs, the shins of my bones were aching, the bones in my fingers were aching. I would get sharp dagging pains in my back where my liver and kidneys are. As we've mentioned, the hair loss and the hair thinning. I just looked old overnight. I developed like really dark circles and I just looked really aged. I looked really old, and I noticed the elasticity in my skin. I had really, it just gone. I just looked grey. I just looked really grey. I looked really unhealthy and looked really grey. Brain fog like you wouldn't believe. Couldn't remember a lot of things that I was doing. I couldn't get words out. I just couldn't speak properly. What was in my mind wouldn't come out of my mouth. And when you've got a business to run and you're a really active, hyper person, you've got to say to yourself, there's something wrong with me. This isn't right. This isn't Stacey. This isn't me. What is wrong with me? And I think the fact, because of the type of person that I am, I kept questioning myself, what's wrong with me? You can't spend the rest of your life like this. What's wrong with you? I went to my GP, and my GP sadly, very sadly, and with no blame to our GPs at all, I think all our GPs are doing an amazing job. I think they simply just don't have the time and the resources and the knowledge of some of the challenges that we are now faced with in this modern day. So had I been able to have half an hour with my doctor, had my doctor been able to run expensive, extensive tests, and had my doctor been trained and have more knowledge on nutrition, he or she probably would have been able to help me more. Unfortunately, I was asked if I wanted to take antidepressants, and I was told I had IBS. Well, all the other symptoms that were going on in my body were making me even more depressed, because I generally felt like I was dying. And now you say this to a friend or a family member or anybody, A, they're going to worry. B, they might think, God, she's a nutcase, she's a hypochondriac. 1 minute she's got achy legs, next minute she's got pains in her liver, next minute she's got headaches and can't remember, and she's got brain fog. And I just felt like it was a never-ending circle of really bad symptoms that I had. And I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting any answers. It just was a nightmare. So January 2020, I made a promise to myself at New Year's, like we all do, New Year's resolutions. That's it. I am going to have to really go out of my way and find out what's wrong with me, because there's no way on this earth I'm staying who I am. I've lost Stacey. Oh my God, I'm getting upset. Sorry. Oh my God. I haven't cried for ages, so right, let me just get that. Okay, really sorry, I just got emotional then. And the reason why I wanted to share this story is because I felt so well for 2 months now, and I've not had any need or desire or reason to even cry. And talking about the whole subject without crying, for me, means that my body's healing, my mind's healing, and I'm feeling better. I think I just got emotional then because I think it's probably just the realisation that I'm actually sharing it out loud, maybe. So yeah, where was I? See, still got a bit of brain fog. I'm not healed yet. I'm still on this journey. And in fact, the whole reason for this YouTube channel is to allow you to share this journey with me. And I pray and I hope that I create a little bit of awareness of what I'm going to tell you, of what my diagnosis was. And yeah, just through nutrition and diet and supplements and a few biohacks, help people who have similar symptoms to me try and identify what's wrong with them and get well, because you can get well. And nutrition is everything. If someone said that to me 5-6 years ago, and I watched another YouTube or another video about health and nutrition, I'd be like, oh God, here we go again. But it's true. It's very, very true. You can heal yourself through nutrition. So, without going on and on much longer about my symptoms, let me tell you what I did, and let me tell you what the test results came out with and what I was diagnosed with, because that's probably what you're all dying to know. So my first stop after my GP was a functional health doctor. Strongly advise, if you have the disposable income, to seek the help of a functional health doctor. Why a functional health doctor? I'll tell you why. Because functional health doctors will look at your body from a holistic point of view. So that functional health doctor will list all your symptoms, all your ailments, everything that you are struggling with, which I've already listed to you. They will work with you via testing, be it blood tests, stool sampling, urine tests. You can even do hair tests to get to the root of what is causing all the different ailments. So we started off with blood tests, really mega extensive blood tests. That included testing my thyroid, my B12 levels, all my mineral levels. If your mineral levels are all out of sync, that can literally make you feel so sick like you would not believe. Vertigo and imbalance, etc. I had biohormonal therapy, so we looked at my hormones, because any other woman in a mid-40s that is suffering really bad depression, I generally walked into that room thinking and believing that I'd begun the menopause, but that didn't kind of answer the issues of the achy swollen legs and the aching of my kidney liver area. But every other symptom kind of comes under the umbrella of the menopause or perimenopause. My mum was 52 when she finally went through the menopause. I'm 45 now, so they say that you're peri 10 years before, so you start to feel the symptoms. And to be fair, 1 week before that time of the month, I do get the hot sweats. So I very much was expecting to be told that my hormones were just literally all over the place. I had a stool test for my gut, and I think that was it with the functional health doctor. Stool test, really extensive blood test, and my mineral levels taken. And very kindly, whilst I was in there, I just cried my heart out to her, and she gave me a shot of B12, and I instantly felt a little bit better already. So that was the functional health doctor. She set me on the right course to getting well, and the results were as follows. I had very low testosterone, so I'm now now on testosterone supplement. My thyroid was absolutely fine. My B12 levels were absolutely fine. Minerals were fine. Stool test was the interesting one. I had the most extensive stool test that is actually brand new, been on the market, as I believe, last 6 months or so, but don't quote me on that. And the results from that were, I was absolutely riddled with parasites. I had food poisoning in my gut that was equivalent to somebody who'd probably spent in the slums of a third world country, which I was completely shocked at. And that would account for the hair loss, the achy legs, the aching in my liver and kidney areas, the brain fog, the memory loss, the headaches, because the parasite just put a huge pressure on the body, basically. What we'll do is, in separate videos, I will go through every single symptom and results and test results individually with an expert to hand, so that you can ask me questions. The expert that I bring onto the channel can then explain all my symptoms and my journey in a much more professional way than I can. So I was prescribed a course of antibiotics, which helped the SIBO, because the SIBO was still there, but very, very mildly. The Candida had gone, but we needed to kill the parasites and we needed to get rid of the food poisoning. How on earth I had got parasites and food poisoning was still beyond me. I was still puzzled. And we're still not at the end of the whole diagnosis yet. I went home with a list of supplements, feeling much better. I had testosterone to bring my hormones back into balance. And I knew that all my gut health problems were because of parasites and food poisoning. Somewhere I picked up along the line, be it from eating raw food, contaminated water whilst on holiday, who knows, but I was riddled with parasites and food poisoning. How long I had had that for, I do not know. So there we are. After the course of antibiotics, obviously I felt better. I felt great. I felt so much better. My brain started to clear, started to feel on form. Testosterone started to kick in. I go like that because it's a cream that I put on my arm. I started supplementing a hair product, which I'll share later on Instagram. I started to supplement various, not probiotics and not prebiotics, because when you have food poisoning or parasites, you've got to be really careful with probiotics and prebiotics. Many, many supplements. I'll go through all of the supplements. I will do a separate video about supplements. So don't worry, I'm kind of like fleeting through everything. Everything I'm talking about, all my journey that I'm sharing with you, I will put it into little segments and we'll go through each subject, and you can start to ask me questions. I can create videos on the back of your questions and we can go from there. So where do we go from there? This is about March, just before we go into lockdown because of the coronavirus. I've eliminated the parasites, gut's starting to feel better. I've been back and forth to London because unfortunately that's where I had to get all my testing done. I then go down with coronavirus for 2 weeks. Thankfully, I came out of the other end, one of the lucky people, and absolutely fine, thank God. But with the coronavirus, it literally wiped me out for at least 6 weeks, no energy. So at the same time as healing what all my issues were, we then had bloody coronavirus in the mix. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because of what my final diagnosis is what I'm leading to. So then I find myself end of April and I've still got bloating. I'm at a point now where I'm kind of, what can I eat? I actually do not even know what to eat anymore. And this is coming from somebody who's written a recipe book, who has researched, who has read every book that I possibly can about alternative diets and the effects of gluten on the body, the effects of dairy on the body. Don't forget, I've also got a daughter that's suffering with gut health problems as well, hence the inspiration behind my book. I'm also somebody that believes in balance in life as well. I'm a great believer in exercise when I can, 3-4 times a week. Monday to Friday, I eat really clean, really mega healthy. When the weekend comes, Saturday, Sunday, I will eat what I want within reason and I'll have my treats. And that might be that I bake something out of my book, but I've always stuck to gluten-free and dairy-free. I have started with eggs again, but anyway. So I find myself end of April, what do I eat? My bloating is still there. I feel 10 times better, by the way. The depression is lifting, but it's still there. It's not gone completely. And, where do I go from here now? Because it's almost as though there was one piece of the puzzle missing. I still wasn't 100%. And I still didn't know how to eat. So I then moved on. And unfortunately, my lovely functional health doctor kind of came to an end of a road. We still have contact. She still helps me with my hormones, and our relationship will be ongoing, definitely. So this is where I now feel the need to get help nutritionally, because I think when you get to a point where you just don't know what to eat anymore, and you feel as though anything that you put into your tummy is going to aggravate it, it's just horrible. Bearing in mind, before I seek to help nutritionally, I have been on the low FODMAP plan for nearly 2 years, and that is unhealthy. You shouldn't be on the low FODMAP plan for longer than 6 to 8 weeks, and then you should start to reintroduce. But for some reason, I just felt comfortable staying on it. I think there was the fear factor of eating again something that might aggravate my gut. So that's my reasoning. But it was quite notable on my stool test that I was on a low FODMAP plan, because the good bacteria that you get from the huge array of different vegetables and fruits and other foods were not populating my gut. So it wasn't doing me any good any longer to stay on the low FODMAP plan. So again, I kind of said to myself, what do I eat? I need help now, and what do I eat? That's when I met the lovely Petronella Ravenshire. Petronella has been incredible. She's been there when I've really not known what to do and when I've not felt well at all. And she's guided me with supplements, and she's guided me purely with my diet plan. Again, I can't talk about every single subject in great length, but we're going to do some live chats with Petronella. Petronella is going to come onto my Instagram page, maybe one day when we're not social distancing so much. We can get Petronella here, or I can go down and see Petronella and we can do some interviews. We can help guide yourselves and share what Petronella does. In the meantime, Petronella's book you can find on Amazon. And again, I'll put all the details down below for you for Petronella's book. But Petronella is a great believer in eating the way our ancestors did, in the way of a typical caveman would have done. Many years ago, we would have hunted for our food. We would have gathered the seeds. We would have picked certain nuts like walnuts and almonds from the trees. So Petronella and her help has been an absolute game changer for me. So finally, the final diagnosis. Diet's on track with Petronella, feeling amazing. And obviously Petronella's diet plan incorporated a huge detox at the beginning, which I felt so ill on. I honestly, like beyond ill, completely disorientated. I just thought something's not right. I'm detoxing like crazy here. There's so much crap coming out of my body, filtering through my brain, because obviously the toxins were being released into my brain and other parts of my body, that I felt so poorly, which made me then think even more there's something more sinister wrong with me. So at this point, we're kind of like end of April, and I thought, right, I'll go back to my nutritionist, my practitioner, who has been there from day one in 2018, Alex. And Alex is always there for me, and he has been excellent. So Alex Giorgio is a nutritionist based in Manchester. He too will come on and do a live chat with me. He's very happy to talk about my journey. So Alex is the person that's put the final piece in the puzzle. He suggested to me, in fact, his words were, do you live in or have you lived in a water damaged building? Or have you been exposed to mold ever in your life? And I was kind of like racking my brains thinking, not that I can think of, just like really thinking everywhere I've lived. It's not just about where you live, it's about where you work. So I was really racking my brains. Anyway, really couldn't think of anything. And he suggested that we ran several tests to find out if I had mycotoxic poisoning. So I did. It's a simple urine test, and I was tested for mold sickness, mold illness, whatever you want to call it, which is the same as mycotoxic illness, mycotoxic poisoning, and also comes under the same umbrella as Lyme disease. So I was tested, and lo and behold, I have mold sickness, CIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome. Much more known of in the States, in America, very new in our country. Again, I'm going to talk about this as a separate subject, and I will explain more about mold sickness and mold illness. Basically, it's exposure to mold. It's self-explanatory, but it can be, it's the gases that mold give off. It's the gases that damp, wet rooms give off. How long I've had this, I don't know, but the symptoms and the chronic disease that it has been clinically, scientifically related to are just horrific. The list goes on and on. Mold sickness is related to cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, heart issues, heart palpitations, irregular heartbeat. It hits the central nervous system. So you can end up with neurological problems, and it can damage the liver, the kidneys. And in my case, it was taking a grip of my body via my central nervous system and via my gut. End of February, March this year, I had been experiencing heart palpitations all week. I've been under a cardiologist now for 3 years, maybe 4 years, with heart palpitations and what felt like irregular heartbeat, and my heart would speed up and slow down again, and there was no pattern. It was actually getting quite frightening. And then finally, end of Feb, March, it was around midnight and I felt really unwell. My husband arrived home from work and couldn't speak to him. For those of you that have experienced anemia before, when you can't speak because you don't have enough oxygen in your body to speak, I felt like that. So I couldn't speak to my husband, but I could just about manage to text him and say, I don't feel very well, please keep an eye on me, which he then looked completely horrified, as you would do. So he sat watching TV next to me and kept checking on me, and I just felt as though I was drifting away. I was going worse and worse. And then that was it. I felt my heart, this overwhelming, it just speeded up so fast. Bearing in mind, I was at my most rested. I was in bed, watching TV, relaxed. And I just about messaged my husband and said, call an ambulance. And that's all I got through, and the rest, I don't really remember very much. I blacked out. Ambulance arrived and I ended up in A&E until early hours in the morning. Another echocardiogram later, ECG, blood tests, nothing found. Doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me, and my heart was perfectly fine. Ectopic jumps, that's all I was told. And I was left feeling even more frustrated, upset, anxious, depressed, because you just don't know what's wrong with you, and it's awful. I now know that the heart palpitations, the racing of my heart that led me to A&E that night is highly likely it's down to the mycotoxic poisoning, to the mold sickness. So yes, it's been a horrific journey of just not knowing what's wrong with you. It's been a horrific journey, and when you don't know what's wrong with you and you've got lots of different health issues, it can make you very sad, and which is what I was for a long time, and I just lived with it, really. So don't just live with it like I've done. The mold was the main root and the main cause because of the toxicity in my body that was causing the anxiety and the depression. Mold likes to find a home in your gut. It sits in your sinuses. I've had sinusitis for God knows how long. And we all know I've had gut health problems. It sits in the lining of the gut and it presents itself as a fungi, as yeast. So I have a diagnosis. I'm on the road to recovery. You can get well from mold sickness. You can get well from mycotoxic poisoning. Unfortunately, mycotoxic poisoning, mold disease, Lyme disease, all the same umbrella. They are illnesses where you have so many debilitating symptoms and you find it so hard to get a final diagnosis. When you have mold sickness or mycotoxic poisoning, you are prone to parasites. So my body, unfortunately, couldn't fight the parasites off, hence why my gut was much more inflamed. This leads me to inflammation. The inflammation in my body was catastrophic, as you can imagine. I will really do a separate video on inflammation. There are so many subjects I want to cover and help you with. And basically, I think what's really important is that I'm feeling well. I'm 2 months into treatment. I'll explain what treatment is. I will explain the testing for mold sickness and mycotoxic poisoning. I will explain the protocol and the supplements. I'll explain all the symptoms for mycotoxic poisoning and mold sickness. And I'll walk you through all of it. But what's really, really important and what I want everybody to know is this is my journey and this is my chronic illness that I've been dealing with. We're all different. We're all made differently. We've all got different genes. We all heal in a different way, respond to illnesses and chronic illness in a different way to others. Please don't presume that one size fits all. I just want to share my story, help create awareness of mold sickness, help create awareness of all the symptoms that come with it, help create awareness about inflammation and chronic disease on the rise. And the whole journey's cost me a lot of money, and what really, really frustrates me is that how many people are exposed to damp, water-damaged buildings? So many. And who can afford to do what I've done? It's unfair. And I'm going to keep saying and because there's so many wrongs about everything I've gone through, from getting a diagnosis that I've had to pay for, that I've had to really seek and really shake people to get them to understand that I know my own body and I know I'm unwell. And that's been the hardest part. And, you probably have friends who will, if you are suffering like myself and you listen to this video and you think, oh my God, that is me. I've got every symptom going. Remember, we're all different. Don't presume you've got mold sickness. It's about testing, talking, and maybe just going to your GP and highlighting and using the knowledge that you've gained from listening to some of the videos and highlighting it to your GP, maybe something that they can investigate. I just want the word spreading, awareness spreading, and if I can just help just a cluster of people, then happy days, that's great. So what's really important is that I'm on the road to recovery. I'm 2 months in healing. I'm taking ridiculous amount of supplements, using a few different biohacks that I'm learning and researching. I'm listening to podcasts constantly. I'm reading books constantly. I'll tell you and inform you of what books to read, what podcasts to listen to, who to seek help from, what tests to run. Supplements, what supplements help? There's loads of supplements that that can really help us now. I'll share what supplements I'm taking, and yes, nutrition. I cannot stress how important nutrition is and how it will heal you. And if you can't commit to healing your body through nutrition, you unfortunately you will struggle to get well. It's really, really important to eat the right food and not to eliminate foods unless they really upset you. I really can't eat gluten and dairy. They really react with me, and they always will do. I'm asthmatic. I had eczema. I really feel that cutting out the dairy has been a real game changer, and I hardly get the asthma anymore. It's unbelievable. My hair is growing back. I've got loads of baby hair growing now. Obviously, we've been in lockdown, so I've had no hair extensions. Last week before, I got a few taped. I've never had taped hair extensions before. Anyway, feel very comfortable, making me feel a bit more confident. But what's important is that the hair on the crown of my head is definitely growing back. So I know that the tapes are not putting too much stress on my new hair. Some of the other things that I've noticed through healing, and literally I'm only 2 months in the protocol and the supplements and the diet plan, is my skin has changed. like you will not believe. The supplements I'm taking, the IV treatment I'm having, it's changed the texture of my skin completely. I look alive, I feel alive. The brain fog has cleared. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I haven't had any depression or anxiety now for about 3-4 weeks, which, don't get me wrong, I am a little bit nervous about filming this video because I am scared and worried that it will creep back again, which if it does creep back again, then I need to maybe look at other reasons why that might be so, or if it's the mold sickness that's still not gone. Everything I'm doing is making me feel better, and that's what's really important. And nutrition, detox, cleansing the liver, reducing inflammation are so important to healing chronic disease. And let's hope, sharing my story, I can help you heal some of your horrible symptoms that you're experiencing and avoid chronic illness. Thank you so much for listening. I feel like I've gone on and on and on, but it's one of those things. It's been a really, really long journey. And all I hope that I can do now is via my YouTube channel, via Instagram posts, via documenting my story and talking about it, and having the experts on my channel and the experts on IGTV and the experts going live with me. We can talk about my story with the scientific evidence, with the clinical studies, and you can get a greater and better understanding of what's happened to me on my journey. And hopefully I'm going to get well, and hopefully I can share all of that with you as well. If I haven't bored you enough and you want to see more of these videos, then obviously subscribe to my channel and and give the video a like. And I would love you to come back. I promise videos may be a bit shorter and we'll get more into the nitty-gritty and concentrate on the subjects individually. And hopefully we'll learn together and you can learn more with me on this whole journey. Thank you.